a very good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Scottish Parliament and the 2023 Festival of Politics. I'm Claire Adamson. I'm the convener of the Scottish Parliament's Constitution Europe, External Affairs and Culture Committee and the MSP for Motherwell and Wishaw. Motherwell, of course, was the birthplace of Scotland's renowned conductor and founder of Scottish opera, Sir Alexander Gibson. So it makes me very delighted and excited to be here today. This year's event celebrates the festival's 19th year of inspiring and informing audiences from every walk of life in engaging in debate in a safe environment. And we are delighted that you can join us today to take part in this conversation with Gustavo Dudamel, brought to you in partnership with the Edinburgh International Festival, and we are delighted that Nicola Benedetti may be joining us today as well as Director of the Festival. Later, I will be inviting you all to get involved in the conversation. This is not my usual view of the chamber. I'm usually where you are, being rebuked by the presiding officer because speakers can't be heard. But today, we are joined by a very, very special big noise. Can I hear a cheer, please, from all those from Scotland's community of big noise from the gallery? Wonderful to see you here today, and we have representatives from the Raploch and Flynn in Stirling, from Govan Hill in Glasgow, Torry in Aberdeen, Douglas in Dundee and Wester Hailes in our very own Edinburgh. And it's so good to see you here today. If you want to take an interactive approach to today, please join us on social media, and you can use the hashtag @VisitScotlandParl or go through Instagram and let your views of today's events be known. And so, to our esteemed guest, Gustavo Dudamel is driven by the belief that music has the power to transform lives, to inspire and change the world. Through his dynamic presence on the podium and his tireless advocacy for arts education, Dudamel has introduced classical music to new audiences around the globe and has helped provide access to the arts for countless peoples in underserved communities, from the City of Angels to Scotland. He currently serves as the music director of the Los Angeles Philharmonic and music director of the Simón Bolívar Symphony Orchestra. Born in Venezuela, his father was a trombonist and his mother a voice teacher, and he grew up listening to music and conducting the toys in his bedroom. He began violin lessons as a child, but was drawn to conducting from an early age. At the age of just 13, and a member of his youth orchestra, he put down his violin and picked up the baton when the conductor didn't show up. So, a natural, he studied under Rodolfo Saglimbeni, and at 18 years, he was appointed the music director of the Simón Bolívar Youth Symphony Orchestra of Venezuela. In 2007, he went on to become the music director of the Gothenburg Symphony until the Los Angeles Philharmonic signed him at just 27 years old. His operatic resume includes more than 30 productions across the globe. He is one of the most decorated conductors of his generation. His multiple Grammy Award-winning discography includes everything from classical opera to contemporary music, and he has played with Beyoncé, Coldplay and Billie Eilish. So be it his work on the Orchestra of the Future, the Youth Orchestra of Los Angeles, Big Noise, or indeed the Dudamel Foundation, which he co-chairs with his wife, Maria, he has shown leadership in the music and arts throughout the world. And he will be performing tomorrow night with the Simón Bolívar Orchestra in the Usher Hall, where they perform Mahler's First Symphony. So, there will be an opportunity for you to get involved and ask questions. But for now, I'm going to invite Gustavo to address the audience and share some of his thoughts with you all today.
Thank you very much. To everyone in attendance today, especially to member of Scottish Parliament, Claire Adamson, and the children of Big Noise, who have come to be with us from all over the country, I first say thank you for inviting me to speak with you today. It is a profound honor to be here, and a joy to return to Scotland to perform at the Edinburgh International Festival with my beloved Simón Bolívar Symphonic Orchestra of Venezuela. Where do we go from here? This is perhaps one of the most important and urgent questions we can ask ourselves today. But in order to know where we are going, we must always first look at where we have been. And at this moment, I think back with warmth and joy to the last time I came with the Simón Bolívar Orchestra to Scotland, back in 2012, when we performed at the Olympics and spent time working with the incredible young musicians of Big Noise. And before that, in 2007, when I performed at the Edinburgh Festival with the Simón Bolívar Orchestra. And then we can go back even far, because I think the first youth orchestra of Venezuela came here in 1976. And it was the genesis of all of this program. These beautiful, unforgettable milestones in our musical journey have brought us to this important moment when I'm able to return once again with my beloved Bolívars to perform music by Paul de Seine, Gonzalo Grau, and Gustav Mahler. So, my friends, that is where we have been and where we are today. But the question is not where are we now, but rather where do we go from here? And as I look at the more than 150 young musicians from all across Scotland sitting with me in Parliament today, that answer seems clear to me. First, we must expand outward, reaching more people with our art, bringing more beauty to the places in the world who normally don't have access to it. When my maestro, José Antonio Abreu, envisioned El Sistema, he knew it had the potential to become that expansive force, to touch millions of lives with the power of symphonic and choral music. And now, with programs like Big Noise, we have countless youth orchestras vibrating together in theaters from Barquisimeto to Salzburg, from Chile to Seoul, from Boston to Raploch. We must continue to build these bridges, not just across oceans, but across cultures and communities, across genres of music and disciplines of art. In addition to traveling outward, we must also travel inside of ourselves. During the quarantine, many of us had to spend more time alone than we had ever experienced in our lives. And it forced us to reflect on what truly mattered most to us. What became clearer to me than ever was how deeply we need art in our lives. Not just shared experience that we get from a concert or the theater, but the sense of inner fulfillment that we feel when we experience something that is profoundly beautiful. Art is the nourishment of the soul. Without art, the human spirit dulls. We must also travel downward and dig deeper in the days ahead. We have experienced such difficult trials these past years. The pandemic, the cultural, social, and political upheavals that have taken place around the world. But I have always believed that art is the greatest gift that you can give in the darkest of time. When you give a child an instrument, especially one who has nothing and feels that they are no one in the world, you give them not just a physical gift, but a spiritual one. When you place them in an orchestra, they have an identity. They become a part of a larger whole, and they matter to the world in a way they may never have felt before. So much seeks to divide us in these times, but we must always remember those shared experiences that unite us. As Pablo Neruda said, you can cut the flowers, but you cannot hold back the spring. So, my friends, where do we go from here? We go out into the world, building new bridges to different cultures and different communities. We look inside of ourselves, remembering the shared isolation, reflection, and reprioritization we have been through these past years. We dig down deeper, asking more of ourselves as we prepare for the inevitable challenges ahead. But above all, we must always keep moving upward. Speaking to you as part of the Festival of Politics, here in this space where legislation is debated and made, is a powerful reminder of how important it is to support the arts. The laws made in this room are not just words on paper. They have a profound impact on the life of every citizen. In my hometown, in my home country of Venezuela, El Sistema is a social program first and a cultural project second, with an ultimate aim of making music fully a part of the society, an imperative that affects the life of every person. I have made it my personal mission not to rest until music can be, for everyone, a right, a fundamental human right. El Sistema has endured through 7 different governments. It is not about politics. It is about the shared belief that art must be part of the fabric of society. This is what I grew up believing, and what I continue to believe, and what I have seen over and over again in my life around the world, and especially here in Scotland with extraordinary young people of Big Noise Rapro. It is in this direction that we must go, toward a time when everyone sees the art as a social imperative and a fundamental right, toward a time when we all believe that we can build a better world together, and we must work every day to help create that world and give other people the opportunity to help create it alongside us. We must do all that is in our power to continue to ensure that art and music are made accessible to everyone, to spread beauty to the world, to bring hope and light to those who need it most. This is where we must go from here. I look forward to the journey ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. I can tell the whole audience is as inspired as I am from your words there. Gustavo, particularly when you were talking about the young person's journey and that sense of identity, could you maybe reflect on your own journey and how that affected you?
Well, we were just talking about that before. I learned all of this not because I wrote in a book about music as a tool of social transformation. I'm a result of a program who used music to transform the community. And this is my journey. My journey is not only the technical musical journey, it's also the human, the spiritual one that we had the chance to share as musicians in an orchestra. It's not a better example of how the world could work like an orchestra. In an orchestra, you have different instruments. You have different people with different ideas, playing completely different sounds and tessitures, different things musically. But in the moment that they play together, they listen to each other. They make harmony and beauty. And this is my real journey. More than play Mahler and Beethoven and the great composers who I'm privileged to do, is the real meaning of music for the world. And you learn that every day in an orchestra in El Sistema, in a choir of El Sistema. And it has been a beautiful journey. I feel grateful to life to have a person like Maestro José Antonio Abreu, a visionary that broke all the walls of believing how music could be, how music education could be. And have my friends today here with me playing, because it's a family. It's not an orchestra that I conduct, it's a family. In El Sistema, you create a family. And yes, it's a journey of pure beauty, I can say.
Thank you very much. Of course, this is the Festival of Politics, and in the seat of Scottish Government here today, this Parliament has an ambition to embed the UNCRC, the rights of children, into law in Scotland, something we're in the process of achieving, hopefully. But your work and your foundation is all about music and the arts being a human right. So what is your experience of persuading people like me, the politicians, that that is the case and that young people should have a right to?
Well, it's clear, it's not, again, it's not about only entertainment. Music is about, fulfilling the soul. And this is something that in our system of education is not a priority. Why art is always caught when we have a crisis? It's because it goes really deeply to what means to the human being really inside. And if we educate our children with that spiritual richness, that is not the material richness. Education teaches us how to produce, and to be more materialistic. When you give to a child, as I was talking before, an instrument, you are giving a spiritual tool. Because music, at the end, is a universal language. It doesn't say to you, yes, it says, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. Imagine, this is only the things that we have in solfege. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. 7 words, which is a complete language of beauty. You don't need even to know that words to feel music. And when a child, in that process of education, have access to that richness, to that spiritual richness, we can build a completely different world. It's about that.
Fantastic. So I'd like to open up the conversation to our audience and the Big Noise people in the gallery. If you do want to participate, please raise your hand. There are people with roving mics. If you keep your hand raised, if I choose you till the mic gets to you. But I'd really like to have our first question from one of the Big Noise communities from the gallery. So I understand we have Matthew from the Big Noise in Raploch who would like to ask our first question. Matthew, can you hold your
Hello. So my question for you is, what would you say is the most challenging but fulfilling part of being a conductor?
What is the most challenging?
Challenging and fulfilling part of being a conductor.
To be where?
To being a conductor.
To be a conductor. Okay. Yes. Sorry. My ears are really bad. I understand only do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. Look, I think I feel privileged. I never dreamed to be a conductor. It was a casual moment in my life when the conductor was late, and I went to the podium to imitate him. The sad thing of that is that he was in a corner, looking to me, watching me. And he said, I was like, oh, my God, this is my end. And he said, no, you do very good. They follow you. So my dream always was to be with my friends, and to play music and to share music with my friends. Life has been very generous and have brought me to won the competition in Bamberg and to conduct Los Angeles, Berlin, Vienna, Paris, all of this. But I think at the end, a conductor is an element of inspiration to the orchestra. More than a teacher, it has to be an inspiration, a motivation person in front. For me, to do music is the best part of my day. When I'm in front of the orchestra, when I'm listening to an orchestra, when I'm working with musicians. So I think it's about the sharing experience which makes this special.
Thank you.
I see some hands up already. If we go to the gentleman with the glasses, if we could get Mike down here.
Good morning, Gustavo. How would you differentiate a great conductor from a good conductor?
A bad from a good? I don't know. It's not bad or good conductors. I think everyone have a personality, and I think at the end, what define a conductor is the musicians of the orchestra. Because what is difficult in conducting is to make they believe in what you are telling them. Because to be a conductor is very easy. I did a lot that when I was a child. I put a recording, I put my toys, and I was conducting. And it was so wonderful, but I was very demanding. I was stopping the recording. I was telling to one of the toys, you are not good, so you have to play more. And they play really good. They sound at the Vienna Philharmonic. It was recordings of this orchestra. And and at the end, it's about that. I think more than good and bad conductors, it's about, Lorin Maazel told me that. He said, conductors have to be natural, a natural conductor. And that conductor can have a bad gesture, but the orchestra follows perfectly and makes beautiful music. There are other conductors that have a beautiful gesture that it looks really good, but it doesn't sound. So I think it goes in the natural experience of making music with an orchestra. That defines the reality of what is a good or a bad conductor, I think.
Hi, I see a hand up here, the person in the third row at the end. Oh, just start here. Sorry.
Sorry.
Near the front. Thank you.
Hello, Gustavo. I think I totally agreed with you that music is for everyone. And then now we have many materials and methods to listening about the music. Like 20 and 30 years ago, we just listening the CD or the recording. But now we can see all the famous orchestra and conductors performance in the YouTube, all like in Berlin Philharmonic's or application. Like that, but I think also still there's many people can't meeting and watch about the music. What do you think about the next generation we need to do for the music to everyone and show our music for the other peoples in my age and even younger than me? Yeah.
Play clarinet, no?
Yes, right.
Yeah. You are talking about access, no?
Yeah,
to
access.
recordings and all of these things, no?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, we live a completely different world than even the 80s, you know. I was born in the 80s and I didn't have the access that I have right now to a lot of recordings. Right now you go to internet and you find recordings of 1925 of the Concertgebouw Orchestra with Melgenbach. You listen to Bruno Walter conduct Mahler symphonies. Even you go to Nickisch, you know, in the beginning of the 20th century, and you listen Beethoven Fifth. So I think right now what is dangerous in music in general is I don't know if to use that word, uniformity. Because we have so much access, we try to sound in one way. And when we didn't have access to all of this information, everybody create their own culture, their own cultural sound. That is why that orchestras at that time, they were very close. For example, if you listen to recordings of Concertgebouw, Vienna, Berlin, putting these orchestras, and they sounded completely different. So right now, the danger is in the increase of the focus on the technical aspect of music, in playing perfect. But at the end, there is the question, what is perfection? And perfection in art is mistakes. You know? When you allow yourself to make mistakes and see the beauty of that, then the dimension of art changes completely. So, use that richness of information that we have, of course, in Spotify and all of these things, you know, you find everything. But try to build your own world with your own reflection, listening to yourself, you know.
So I see a hand up, a lady at the end of the row here. Will you just bear with us?
Hi, thank you so much for your inspiring words. Makes me want to play piano again. But I'm curious if you have any ritual or something that you do before you perform, something that you like to do. I don't know, a wee dram of whiskey.
You said whiskey?
Why not?
No, I don't have any ritual. Honestly, I always arrive just on time to conduct. I don't like to be too early. It makes me a little bit anxious to be waiting. So I love to go directly. That is why the people that work with me, they are always in panic of when this guy is going to arrive. But that is not a ritual. That is something that I do naturally. No, I sent a message to my wife. Just going to the stage and send a voice message. I'm bringing you with me, all of that. And yeah, it's part of inspiration. I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit naive, but I do that. But a part of that, I enjoy. And yes, I have a sip of a scotch after. That is, if that is a ritual after, yes, I do. I had a little scotch after.
That's what we like to hear. Thank you. I'm going to go back to the gallery now, and we have Hannah Gregory from the Big Noise and Rap Block, who would also like to ask a question.
Hi, my question is, what advice would you give to young people who are just beginning their musical journey?
I didn't hear well.
The advice to young people starting on their musical journey.
Enjoy. Enjoy every moment. I know that this is scary, At the beginning, to play an instrument is one of the most difficult things because it doesn't sound how you expect. No, it's horrible at the beginning. But that horrible part is very beautiful because it's the beginning of that journey. I think what music provides to you is a space of interaction and inspiration. And try to use that element. You have to be, of course, very disciplined to create your own sound, your artistic skills. But at the end, the secret is the joy. For me, for example, when I started, I say the same, it's because, my father is a musician, and I wanted to be I wanted to play salsa. I didn't want to play classical music. But then, magically, I don't know what happened, a leprechaun came and touched me and said classical. But I love all genres of music. But I remember exactly that joy of playing with my friends. Exactly, it's what I remember every time when I go to the stage. That first sound that I was producing inside of a sea of sounds. And I was like, wow, what the hell is this? My God. So I was playing violin, you can see. And yes, it's about joy, my dear. It's about joy. That is the secret.
Thank you. I see a couple of hands at the back of the room. If you can maybe take the gentleman first, and then I'll go to the lady side.
Yes, you have traveled all over the world. I assume you've met many contemporary composers. Is there a certain person, or who are the composers that you admire today, who you think are giving us music that will inspire us from here and forward?
Yeah. Well, there are many. I had the chance to premiere many wonderful masterworks in these last 15 years. As a music director in Los Angeles especially, we had, last year we premiered, I think, around 200 new works, which I conducted around 50 or 50-something. And there are many, One of my big friends and that I admire a lot, for example, is John Adams. Of course, in that line of composing, there is Philip Glass also, which I admire a lot. I have a huge admiration for Thomas Adès, for example. great. I have the chance also to premiere a few of his pieces. Gabriel Ortiz, a Mexican composer. Paul de Sen, who just passed away, young composer, Venezuelan. I was commissioning a lot of pieces to him, but sadly, he passed away in his 60s, so it was very sad. Gonzalo Grau, which we will play tomorrow too, is an amazing young Venezuelan composer. Well, my God, there are so many, but I will say that we are in a great moment of creativity. We have many great geniuses writing great music, and I'm privileged always to premiere. Unsuk Ching also is an amazing composer. I had the chance to also do music of Oliver Knussen, which was an experience, beautiful experience. So, yeah, all of them.
So one of the themes of this festival, Politics, has been examining artificial intelligence and how that might influence. Have you any thoughts on, having named so many of the wonderful contemporary composers that we have you any thoughts on how artificial intelligence might change the role of music in the future?
Well, yes. The world is changing, you know. We cannot stop that. Now, how we understand the dimension of that change, which is always scary. It's always scary. The new is something like we don't know. And I think, of course, technology is an important part of the evolution. But I think it's difficult to say that the action of making music can be replaced, you know, by an action of a computer. I think a computer is a tool for a lot of things, but the real action, the human action of making beauty, that cannot be replaced. And I think there are a lot of things happening. I have been working with VR, virtual reality. We did a beautiful experience called Symphony, which is you get inside of an orchestra and you listen in a three-dimensional way, the orchestra, you see the musicians, which is good, because in a way this is a good way to call the attention of the young generation, you know, with that kind of technology. But that cannot replace the real action of music.
I think it's like an artificial flower. It only gives you part of the way of the enjoyment and the experience. I will come to that lady at the end. The lady at the very back there who had her hand up, and then I'll come across. Yes.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, I'd like to thank you. I am a retired music teacher in a secondary school in Northern England, and I had the wonderful privilege of introducing different genres of music to the pupils I taught, most of whom had no access to classical music. And I used to play a recording of you conducting the Simon Boulevard Youth Orchestra at the BBC Proms, playing the Symphonic Dances by Leonard Bernstein. And they absolutely loved it. I think your enthusiasm and to see young people performing was a huge experience for them. And they became aware that music wasn't just for older people, classical music. My question is, what advice do you have for music educators who are working in schools where the arts are not valued and we're battling against lack of funding? How can we maintain that enthusiasm for the subject that we deeply love? Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you for what you do. Really, music education is a mission. It's not a job. It's a mission. And, because I can talk about the experience of El Sistema. When Maestro created El Sistema, nobody believed to him that he could do something with young people, with young Venezuelan musicians playing classical music. I think Maestro created a space for music educators to be creative and to create different ways of teaching, you know. I think that personal touch is very important. A part of being in a school of learning is how you inspire that young people. I think one of the most important things also is to break the walls between music, different genres of music. Sometimes classical musicians, we are very square in the way of thinking, and if we play Beethoven, we cannot listen Pink Floyd. Or if we love Mozart, how we can be listening Radiohead, which is not true. It's music. It's music. And when the young musicians, let's say the young pupils, learn that there is not limits in their way to build the life through music, then they can be really creative and inspiring to do what they want. At the end is that, of course, we have to change the mentality of how we see art. Now, then we go back to how is placed in society art, where is played art in society. And that is a work that you do, because you go there, you teach. Every person that is teaching music is helping change that. And at the end, Maestro Abreu always said that the culture for poor people cannot be a poor culture. Culture has to be dignity, to bring dignity, identity and dignity to the young people that wants to cross that journey, that path of art as part of their lives. So this is, I think we are in a, I don't know how to say, we are living a challenging moment where we are trying to rethink what is the future. But at the end, the future is the present. It doesn't exist if we are not here now. And now, so we can see these young people. You see the young people of the Simon Bolivar Orchestra, or in Seoul, or in Germany, doing music. That is what we have to create for them. Spaces where they can interact through music, and you are doing, I know many people are trying. So helping change that mentality.
Thank you. So just the lady here, and then we'll come to the lady down at the front here. So if you tee up the microphones, that would be good. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Gustavo. I'm originally from Venezuela. I'm a PhD. Yes, I wish I would like. So I'm doing a PhD in international law. And basically, when I was living in Venezuela, I didn't have the opportunity to see you. But today, thank you to the Scottish Parliament and the Edinburgh International Festival, I could be here and see you and tell you that we are very proud of you. You are such an inspiration for people around the world. And what you are doing with the system, El Sistema, is such a reference around the world. And congratulations again. So I have two questions, and the first one is, what would you suggest, what is your advice for parents who has kids, families or individuals who wish to play music, but they don't know if they are going to be good or no? Do you think people born with a talent, or people born to play music, or people could learn to play music? And the second question is, what is your suggestion to politicians and countries where access to music is very expensive, like paying a course to play music? Or what is your suggestion for those countries to make music more a human right and more accessible? Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Mil gracias por tus generosas palabras. Thank you for your generous word. I think the second question, we have been talking about that, what to tell politicians. This at the end is a dialogue, and a dialogue of understanding. I believe in a world where we can make things together through our differences. And sometimes it's difficult. It's sometimes very difficult to find that space where we think together. But at the end, again, music is not only an entertainment part of the society. We go back to education. We go back to the education of our soul, of our spirit. I think that is the real conversation. How music, how art affect the life of a child, especially that doesn't have access to nothing. Poverty, talking about poverty especially, because the program of El Sistema is focusing all range of society, but especially underserved kids, children. And at the end, to be poor is to be no one, to be nobody. That is exclusion. When you include a child with the highest expression of human being, that is art, you give an identity in the highest level that you can give to a child. This is the reason why art is important. Going to the other question, which was, I forgot.
If you think like people born
talento.
to play.
This is the big question. Even Garcia Lorca have a book about that. Garcia Lorca, this wonderful Spanish writer, poet, called El Duende. The leprechaun is the translation. And it's the definition that the artists have a magic thing surrounding him, a leprechaun, And it's difficult to predict if somebody have a talent or not. Of course, sometimes can be very obvious, but sometimes it's a beautiful surprise. I think I have seen in my experience with my friends in Barquisimeto, for example, when I was playing in the orchestra. I had some friends that they were, for example, we had classes of solfege and all of this, and they were horrible, terrible, horrible. I can't remember exactly and listening to them. But they play beautifully. They really play the instrument like angels. Exactly. But they didn't have a specific talent to sing, but they have to play. But in the way of learning, you have to sing to understand what you are playing. So this kind of thing was evolved in a natural way. You really can give the chance to somebody that don't have a special talent to evolve, because it can be inspired by the others. I have many friends which were technically wonderful, but the spirit was a little bit down. But together with the others, I have a little bit more, personality. They took that from them. That is the beauty of the interaction of making music together. And And as we were talking about conductors, I go back to that day of Maestro Lorin Marcel telling me, he told me, we are natural conductors. And I didn't understand completely. But really, in the process of conducting, if I remember for me, when I was 11 years old, I didn't know any technical thing. But I moved my hands and they work in front of the orchestra. Is that talent? I don't know. It was magic. Maybe I believe that somebody was moving the hands of me. So there is a question, but you need to give the chance of somebody that wants to play an instrument to have the experience of play. That's it. No?
Oh, I can use this one. Now I'm a real member of parliament. Maestro, my name is Graciela Gomez. I'm a Mexican diplomat, but I grew up in Venezuela. And allow me to say what a privilege it is. Es un verdadero privilegio y un honor estar con usted. Maestro, you have played in the best, theaters all over the world. But I would like you to share with us, if possible, a particular anecdote about the human experience. You told us music changes lives, and I would like to probably hear one of your anecdotes that are closer to your heart. Thank you.
Many experiences of seeing that, especially when you work with young people. One of that experience I remarked when I was talking, it was when we came in 2012 to Stirling, and we play an open-air concert at the community with very young musicians. We were already old. We were already 20-something, 30-something. We were old. They were 5, 6, 10, 12 years. And we had the chance to play with them. Egmont Overture. We did like 3 pieces together. And you cannot imagine the joy. You know what is beautiful? To see the eyes of a child full of desire. That for me is the best thing. More than to conduct, that I'm privileged to do it, to conduct the greatest orchestras in the world, to work with young people is, I find in that space the real reason. And that moment was crucial. That moment changed the life of the children of the big noise, but it changed also our lives. It created a connection. It changed the life of all their families. I think it was raining that day. Nobody left. Everybody was like, it says that, it said good weather next day, but it was good, but it was not raining a lot. But they were, everybody, with, listening, supporting. This is one of the best experience. I see that in Venezuela a lot, because above all of the situation that our country can cross, you see these young people making music. And it's a reality. It's not a fantasy of I was one of the experiences that I had. I was in a tour with the Vienna Philharmonic in Asia. Beautiful. We play a New World Symphony by Borjak. Then I went to Venezuela. This was in 2014. This is one of the best experiences that I had. I went to a city, which is a village in El Oriente, the place called Upata. This is almost in the border with Guyana. And this was this group of musicians trying to show me what they were doing in a very poor infrastructure. They didn't have air conditioning. It was like 40 Celsius degrees. They were like playing like this, the children. And then they brought me to the garage of that house. And it was a symphonic orchestra. And they played the New World Symphony. I said, like, I was just playing with the Vienna Philharmonic, but this is the best New World Symphony that I have here in my life. And I was not touched because their needs. I was not touched because their poverty. I was touched because the dignity that they have of playing how they were playing. That moment said, that is one of the moments that I said, this is it.
So apologies, I can't take any more questions from the floor, but I'm going to finish with one from the gallery as we started, and I'd like to invite Danny from the Big Noise Raplock.
Hello everybody. My question for you is, do you still get doubts and nerves before performing? And if so, how do you overcome them?
If I get nervous before the performance, adrenaline, pure adrenaline. I will not say nervous. I will call that a bubbling adrenaline that it happened. But every time that I go, even for a rehearsal, I'm shaking. I tell the orchestra, please forgive me because I will be shaking for the first 2 minutes of the piece. So that is because it's very emotional. But yes, it's like the first time, all the time.
Thank you. I'm really sorry, but we've run out of time, but it's not the end of today's events. I would like to once again thank the Edinburgh International Festival for being our partners in the Festival of Politics event today, and also all the young people from the communities from Big Noise Scotland in the gallery. So thank you. We were chatting earlier about how the Parliament is, this building has its 20th anniversary next year. When it was opened, the then Scottish marker, Edwin Morgan, penned a poem called Open the Doors, and it begins, open the doors, light of the day, shine in, light of the mind, shine out. Well, today we have certainly had an event that completely encapsulates that vision. So for the truly enlightening and inspiring Gustavo Dudamel, please, your warmest thank you. So if I could just let you know what's happening now, we are delighted to say that before we close the session, there will be a short performance from the brass quintet of the Simone Bolivar Orchestra, who will be joining you here. As they're getting ready to perform, Gustavo and I are going to go up and join the young people from Big Noise Orchestra. And following the performance, you can be directed down to the garden lobby, where we're going to hear a phenomenal performance from the string ensemble of the Big Noise Raplock, Bryn Conada Chamber Orchestra, and they will be performing with a quartet from the Simone Bolivar Symphony Orchestra as well. So for the last few moments, if you could just bear with us while we change over. But again, thank you all for your participation, and thank you again. Gustavo. thank you. Everyone is speaking from the gallery now, and I'd forgotten I had to do this bit, so just bear with me. So, yes, so many thanks to the brass quintet, of course, first line, from the Simone Bolivar Orchestra for that wonderful performance. And there will now be a short reception in the Parliament garden lobby. If you look to the Parliament staff to guide you down there will be refreshments, and again, a chance to hear the string ensemble from the Big Noise Raploch, and also a very special performance that we hope you will all be able to join us for. And a final, very special thank you to Gustavo Dudamel.